Welcome back to the Polly Tea with D. Hey! I need to have an intro, not this season, next season, because I ain't got the time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Anybody remember that meme? Oh my god, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Oh, wait, I'm gonna find that later. That's actually it's such a funny video. But anyway, whoa, talk about losing track of time. We're 30 seconds in actually. Welcome back to the Polly Tea with D. What have I done this week? Oh, I can't even talk about it on here yet. So I said I'd talk about it last week and then I didn't. And I also can't talk about it this week because I don't want to jinx myself. So when everything's said and done, I will talk about it. But since I can't talk about it, just say I've had a busy week. Let's just say I've had a busy week and the next couple weeks will be busy. Very busy. But for the best, all good stuff, obviously. But yeah, I hope everybody had a wonderful week. It's summer isn't over yet. I'm singing a lot today. I'm singing a lot, but I don't know. I sing when I'm in a good mood. The weather is putting me in a good mood, and I hope it's been putting everyone else in a good mood also because it's sunny. And you know what's really weird? I feel like I talk about the weather every single episode, but it actually just does control every aspect of my life and my emotions. But this morning I was with my friend, or my cousin actually, but she had to go to her NCT. Her car was dead, bro, and her car keeps dying. I don't know why that keeps happening to her, but I was supposed to go with her to her NCT because she didn't want to go alone. We didn't go obviously because the car wouldn't start. And police asked me, "Do I know how to jumpstart a car?" I was like, I could get the cables out of my mom's car, but it'd be the blind leading the blind. We don't know how to do that. So whatever. But the point was, looked so gloomy when I left the house, and then I stepped out and I'm sweating. It was 17 degrees. 17 degrees. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, it's May. I feel like the weather has taken some time. Usually we'd be getting this weather in like start of April, end of March. So the weather's taken a while to get to this point, but this is enough weather talk. Sorry guys. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with the weather, but yeah, it kind of shocked me a little bit how nice it was today. So since we didn't go to the NTT, I drove us around and we went to Little. I went to Boots to get some hair products. We just were out and about actually. I got some snackies. So the day was good actually. The day was good. But what must we do next? We have to talk about politics as always. So this is a long episode. I feel like this will be a long episode. Just prepare yourselves, obviously. Is it really heavy? I wouldn't necessarily say so. There's just a lot happened this week, and I actually feel like I'm gonna end up forgetting stuff. I mean, I've written everything out, but I feel like maybe there's probably stuff that I missed, but it's just been a long week. It's just been a long week. Okay, so if I forget anything or if I didn't speak about something and you're like, hey, you didn't talk about that, I probably just didn't know. I just didn't know. Okay. I'm only human. I was gonna sing that part, but enough singing for today. Let's get into it. So, starting off strong. This has been one of the main conversations of the week, I think. The government is starting to phase out state provided housing for Ukrainians who arrived here before March 2024. So it's going to start from August and it's going to be it's going to happen over a 6 month period, which 6 months is pretty fast, I would argue. Um, but yeah, these people are going to get 3 months warning ahead of time, like whoever's affected. And they said the highly vulnerable will not be affected by this or will continue to qualify for state housing. Who's highly vulnerable? Women with children, elderly people, and those with disabilities will continue to qualify for state housing. So how will this happen? What are the elements of this? So they're ending the hotel and commercial accommodation for most Ukrainians. So the properties that they've been using will go back to the rental market or tourism because a lot of these places were hotels. Next, they're reducing the accommodation recognition payment. So that's the ARP, right? So hosts who host Ukrainian families have been getting 600 euro a month. That's going to be reduced now to 400,000. Hello, 400 euro a month. Okay. I don't know if you guys have noticed. Every time I have to say any numbers, I always mess it up. I don't know why, but anyway, who was affected by the ARP? 42,000 Ukrainians living with host families. That's a lot. That is. I don't think I've. To be fair, I don't think I've thought a lot about Ukrainians here in Ireland. To be fair, I don't know. I've just never thought about it. So the numbers, there's a lot. There's a lot more people than I thought. Anyway, next, when you arrive from Ukraine, you usually get 90 days in state accommodation. This is now going to go down to 30 days in state accommodation. You know, I was watching, I don't know what it was, I saw a clip of Simon Harris on RT, and he said that only post March 2024, when people came in, Ukrainians came in, they only 22% of people have availed of the state housing. So that's why he's arguing this isn't going to affect people that much. I don't know how true that is. I mean, the 22% thing, I'm sure, is true. I doubt he would throw out a fake stat, though. That's been done before. That's been done before. But I just think something like this is going to have a massive impact on people. The government are also encouraging Ukrainians who wish to return home to do so. Hi, it's still an active war zone. Like, am I missing? Obviously, I haven't been keeping up with the war in Ukraine enough, because I thought it was still an active war zone. That's just me. That's just me. I think other people would also agree that's an active war zone, and that people probably are still fleeing and would not actually would like to return back ASAP. Um, but sure, Simon. Wait, I'm maybe not. I don't think it's Simon specifically that said this, but the government has said this, right? The government also argued that, like, they're arguing their case. They said that the system has to be sustainable long term, and temporary must mean temporary. And they've been trying to shift away from hotel based accommodation for a while now, so this is just the next step, and it's just now being formalized. What are the opposition saying? They're actually split on this. So Labour said that this decision is immoral and unethical, and it undermines Ireland's humanitarian response to the war. Which I understand what he means, because he's basically saying, like, we're coming out every day to the EU saying we're welcoming people here with open arms, we're doing our part to fight the war in Ukraine, like we're trying to support, like we're here with our fellow EU states doing as much as we possibly can to support Ukrainian people, but then they're rolling back the supports that they have for them. So it's kind of confusing. It's like, are you trying to help or are you not? Because how is this helpful to people? Social Democrats have warned that the move will increase pressure on the already strained rental market. This is an obvious one, which again the government doesn't seem to understand. I don't know how they don't understand that having like thousands of people now trying to get into a market that already is so heavily saturated. I don't understand how they don't understand. That's crazy. And a lot of understands being thrown around there, but I'm not understanding. Do you know what I mean? So that's crazy. And then Roger O'Gorman has said the change represents a very rapid removal of supports, which is true, because even though the government says that this is happening in a phased way, 6 months on from August is pretty soon. August, September, October, November, December, January. Oh, I don't know. It's just a lot. And this is where Sinn Féin comes in, going against the grain, if you will. Pierce Doherty said that the party has welcomed this decision. And he said that the party warned the government that this accommodation recognition scheme that was in place for Ukrainian refugees was already deeply unfair and distorting the market. And he said, so we welcome that they are coming to our view. Late in the day, obviously they had to get their licks in, but it is very late in the day in relation to that, and there has been significant impacts as a result of that. Okay. Aontú leader Peadar Tóibín said the measures were supposed to be temporary and were provided at a time of significant need for Ukraine, but they're temporary. So that's his view on that. And he's also added the whole, like, there's no need that it's not fair that Ukrainians are getting support that Irish citizens aren't getting. The same thing, that the same conversation that people have had for time and time and time and time and time again. Like, that's their party line, if you will. Okay, this one is some good news. I can't whack the government too much. I do love to whack the government every day, but this is some good news. It's a plus on their part, a win in something in the win column, if you will. Okay, so Ireland now provides a domestic violence travel supplement that gives victims of domestic violence free, immediate access to transport so they can reach safety without financial barriers. This is great news, okay? And the scheme takes place from the 5th of May, so pretty much in the next few days, very quick. So what's included? You get free travel for the first 3 months with no means test required. And then it could be possibly extended for another 3 months following a standard eligibility review. So it covers all essential travel needs, such as getting to a refuge, court, medical appointments, school, or work. Okay. So how does it work? So you get so the payments are accessed through a community welfare officer. So you get a referral from like a domestic violence service, women's refuge. You can get one from the guards. And to apply, a person just needs to declare that they are a victim of domestic violence. No additional proof is necessary. And if you're in a situation where you can't get the instant required confirmation, so you can't get to a women's refuge, you can't get to the guards, you can't get to any of these things straight away, then you can apply for an additional needs payment and get that immediately. So that's something. And how did this book come about? So Patricia Stevenson, actually, who is a Social Democrats TD, she introduced the Domestic Violence Free Travel Scheme Bill in 2025 as a private member's bill, right? In the Shannon. So she was looking to create a statutory free travel scheme for victims fleeing abuse. And then the government sought a 12-month delay on her bill. And she was like, no, 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 12 months is crazy. People need this shit now. Then the government agreed to work with her. So they've been working with her for a little while, and now it's here. So Fairs, Women's Aid has said that the scheme is a lifeline that provides safety, dignity, and financial relief. And they also note that many survivors face poverty or economic abuse, making even basic travel unaffordable. Because imagine a situation where your partner controls all of your finances, everything, and you want to leave. How are you going to do that if you've no money? Literally, how are you going to do that, you know? And this can, like, and the great thing about this, when I first read this, I don't know why in my head I thought it was just public transport, but this is everything. If you need to get a train, if you need money for gas for your car, like, it covers a lot. And it's not just to leave the place, it's the ongoing things that you would need post leaving your domestic violence situation, you know? So this is a lifeline for a lot of people, so I'm really happy to hear this news. So let's talk about the global Samad flotilla, a bunch of boats carrying aid going to Gaza. They left Barcelona April 12th, and then on Wednesday, when they were off the coast of Greece, Crete in Greece, mind you, 800 kilometers from Israel, they were intercepted in international waters by Israel. Okay? Crazy. Crazy. Because actually, when you really think about it, 800 kilometers from Israel, Israeli like boats came and intercepted them and took them, kidnapped people off the boats and illegally detained them and have been detaining them. Do you know how worrying that is, that that's a possibility and that no one seems to give a shit? Like governments don't seem to care. Do you know how worrying that is? And what does that say about international law? I mean, we've been saying for a while that international law does not apply to Israel, doesn't apply to America, doesn't really apply to many countries in the West. Honestly, it was, you know, like the ICJ and all these places, the ICC, international law just in general was only put in place just to try and control the global South. That's literally it. It's only those countries that must suffer the rules that they've created. Everybody else, smooth sailing, literally, literally. Okay. Anyway, 7 Irish people have been detained. We have, and I'll name them for you: Fiaco Brolkin, Martin Guilfoy, Colin Byrne, Robert Murphy, Katrina Graham, John Connellan, and Michael Fix. These people had no weapons on the boats. It's peaceful. All they're trying to do is carry aid to Gaza. Mind you, aid should already be going into Gaza, is it? What about that ceasefire that they claim exists? I'm yet to see it. Anyway, you can also go on to there's an Instagram page called era_global Samad, and you can get updates from there. So that is something we can do. Next, a new Aontú bill. Guys, I kind of forgot Aontú was an actual political party, because what did they do actually? What do? They go on the internet and they talk shit about gays. They talk shit about women. They talk shit about everybody that's not white and Irish. And not a white and Irish man. Let's actually specify. Okay? So I forgot that they actually have a TD in the doll, because he seems to do fuck all. Anyway, he's introduced a bill. This one is called the 41st Amendment of the Constitution In brackets, it's voting rights in presidential elections. Out of brackets, Bill 2025. And it has gone to the second stage in the doll. Hasn't been shut down as of yet by the government. I think they just want to see how this one plays out, okay? So this one is calling to allow people in the north to vote in Irish presidential elections. He says that this bill would extend the democratic franchise, the right to vote to all Irish citizens across the country in presidential elections. This is no small thing at all. Enfranchising 1 million Irish citizens is massively important. So that's where we are with that. Next, we actually have so much healthcare, and this is actually a perfect pivot. We're going to talk about reproductive rights, something Mr. Potter Tobin absolutely hates. I'm sure he hates this bill, and he's actually already called for this bill to be shut down. So, the Reproductive Rights Amendment Bill 2025 has been introduced by party leader Social Democrats Holly Cairns, okay? And it's to update Ireland's abortion laws, right? First thing they want to do is end the mandatory 3-day waiting period. Why? Because there's no evidence that it actually does anything to deter women from getting an abortion. If anything, it's just a hindrance, and it's literally based in misogyny, the idea that women cannot think for themselves, that we're rational, that we're emotional, we make decisions off a whim. Who decides to get an abortion on a whim? And even if I wanted to get an abortion on a whim, who the hell are you to tell me I can't? Move on. Okay, next thing they want to do is allow abortion in more cases of fatal fetal abnormality. So the current law means that doctors have to know for sure that the baby's going to die within 28 days of being born. That's almost impossible for a doctor to do. They can say that it'll die pretty soon after. It could be 2 weeks, could be 3 weeks, could be 6 weeks. Could be, like they can't tell if it's going to be within 28 days. It's virtually impossible. So that means that a lot of women are having babies and then they're dying straight after birth, or they have to travel abroad to have the abortion that they so necessarily need. And also, these FFAs are only coming up on the scan usually at the 20-week mark and 20-week mark on. And by then, the abortion laws in this country are just so strict, it's almost impossible to actually avail of one, putting women in a really, really difficult position. Holly Cairns told the doll that around 240 women a year still travel to the UK for abortion care. That's unacceptable in a country where abortion is legal. That is unacceptable. She said the reality is women are still traveling, still navigating crisis pregnancies far from home, far from their support networks, still being failed by a system that was meant to care for them. That is not what people voted for. No piece of legislation is set in stone. No law is beyond improvement. Which brings me to my next point. Whenever Holly Cairns keeps getting asked this in the media, and I'm sure Ruth Coppinger as well when she brought forward a similar bill a while ago, like was probably getting similar questions, they keep saying this is not what the people voted for. This is not what the people voted for. People voted for this 3-day plan. First of all, that shouldn't have even been included. But if it had been included for the bill to pass, I'm glad it was, because now we're here and we can finally get rid. Okay, but the bill was voted through with a contingency in it that after 3 years there had to be a review to see if this bill is still working, or if this law is still working. It's not. And the review that the government commissioned, what is it called? The Marie O'Shea review that they commissioned themselves, tells them that this law doesn't work and it's failing women. Okay, so the things that Holly Cairns has said in this bill, or Social Democrats have said in this bill, are literally things that the Marie O'Shea review commissioned by the government has said, and literally is putting the recommendations into the bill. The government themselves actually should have done this a long time ago, because why do a review if you're not going to take any actions of it? It was definitely a tick the box exercise, but it's just not good enough. Here are some of the things that the Marie, why do I keep calling it the Marie O'Shea review said. Some of the things. They said the 3-day wait often became 4 to 5 days, because a lot of the times the weekend would be factored into there. So if you go on a Wednesday, they'd say, oh, only appointment on a Wednesday. Now, oh, but you have to come on, we're closed on the weekend, obviously, so you have to come on. That's 5 days now. 4 to 5, here. You're dragging it, okay? another thing is there's large gaps in the service availability, so especially outside the cities. So if you're in a rural area, you might not have a lot of access to any abortion services at all. So that's very worrying. She also mentioned the fatal fetal abnormality and said how difficult it is to assess something like that, and that the criminalization of doctors as well is a chilling, which causes a chilling effect. So the bill also wants to get rid of the criminalization of doctors for performing abortions. So, yes. She also said that there's extra barriers for disabled women, migrants, and those with limited transport. So I'd love for this to be another conversation that we have, is about the fact that there's lack of access for a lot of people, actually. We're moving off Maria O'Shea now and back to Holly Cairns. The next thing that they want in this bill is, or to the Social Democrats bill, is to clarify conscientious objection rules so that care is not obstructed, because they don't want it to be a situation where women are forced to travel or face delays because a provider refuses to participate. So, in simple terms, what that means is if you're a healthcare provider and you don't want to perform an abortion because it goes against your religion or your morality or whatever, you don't have to do that, okay? If you're a nurse, if you're in the healthcare situation, you don't have to aid, you don't have to support. Problem is, you need to then find an alternative for this person. There needs to be a transfer of details, a transfer of information. Find that person another doctor, because what the situation is now is, imagine you're in a rural area where there's only one doctor. That doctor doesn't perform abortions. You're now having to travel to God knows where to do that, and you're not even getting support from said doctor who says that they won't provide abortions. So there needs to be a situation where there's clear consistency across the country on what to do in that situation. So no matter where you go, you know you will get the support you need. Whether it's in that specific place or the next, you know exactly what's going to go happen. You're not now wondering, it's not delaying things any further. There should be no delays, okay? You're getting the support you need, period, point blank. So that's another part. Anyway, the Taoiseach said that the government will engage constructively with this bill and that they're not shutting it down at this stage. It's also, interestingly, it's a vote of conscience, not party whipped. So that means you don't have to vote along with your party. You can vote along with your beliefs. Okay. And the Minister for Health, Jennifer Carroll McNeil, has been asked to work alongside Holly Cairns with this. So yeah, we will see where this goes. Fingers crossed. This is a lot more healthcare, but this is interesting. So, the Committee of Public Accounts, the PAC, met and they discuss money. Money, the way that money is used in this country and like by the government, and to make sure that it's being used effectively and we're getting value from money in all situations. Clearly not a situation that's really ever happening in this country anyway. National Children's Hospital being example numero uno, which is what we're going to talk about right now, okay? So we talked about it last week, so I'll keep it short and sweet. A shout out to Sabrina Carpenter. But anyway, just before I start, I saw this quote that made me giggle. More than a decade ago, the then Minister for Health, Leo Varadkar, said the project would be complete by 2020. Short, and I quote, short of an asteroid hitting the planet. Just had to jinx it. I wonder, I mean, you could interpret that the asteroid was COVID, in 2020, but even then, COVID was 2020, and we were still behind by then. Do you know what I mean? COVID couldn't have stopped whatever the hell was going on here. It was fucked from day dot. Anyway, so we had some people in front of this Oireachtas committee, right? And before this even came out, before the Oireachtas committee even started, there was kind of like not rumors, or like the people that are going before the Oireachtas committee usually release their speech beforehand, especially to the media. So there were media reports about the defect in the buildings. Okay, so when inspectors went through the nearly finished hospital, they found 106,000 individual problems. 106,500 to be precise. And this is spread across 5,728 rooms in the building. That's an average of 18 defects per room. That's insane. That's insane. And there's still no completion date. We'll come back to that though in a minute. So the CEO or chief executive of the National Pediatric Hospital Development Board. Remember we were talking about them last week because they're really beefing with BAM, saying We didn't do this, we didn't do that, we didn't. It's just a back and forth thing. It's like, grow the hell up, seriously, guys. But anyway, David Gunning, who is the CEO of that pediatric board, right? He said that they have a bill of 5.3 million in legal fees, and this is between 2014 and February 2026. And who's the legal fees against, by the way? BAM, obviously, okay? So BAM have submitted huge claims totaling up to 800 million so far. And David Gooding's basically saying, BAM keeps putting in all these claims and all these claims, but they're not winning. Okay, when you think about it, this is what he said. BAM put in around nearly 1 billion euro worth of claims, but they only won 52 million euro. Like, that's what they were awarded. So a lot of their claims keep getting thrown out. So we're technically still up. You're 5 million down, babe. Don't start. Okay? If you're 5 million down in legal fees, not even including the 52 million euro that you've had to award them, that they've been awarded, please, 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 just take the L, okay? So BAM lodged huge contractual claims, okay? This is totaling up to 1 billion. They said for the delays, for the design changes, and then cost overruns and COVID-related impact. And also, BAM are saying the CHI and the NPHDB keep slandering their good name. We are a respected contractor. We're a respected construction company, and you guys keep getting into the media and saying everything's our fault and that we're so shit and blah 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 blah, and that some people are even suggesting that we should be kept out of future projects. But this is not our fault. This is your fault and your administration and the fact that you guys are a mess and bureaucracy on your side. That's what they're saying. Like one of the things they said, for example, is that they keep making that the we'll just say the CHI for now because the CHI and all of those things are together. BAM are saying that the CHI keep making statements to the public that are completely out of context. And they said, for example, remember I mentioned the 5,728 rooms? They said, of the 5,728 areas/rooms in this hospital, it has been reported that just 3,185 have been completed, ignoring the fact that an additional 1,219 have been offered to the client and are waiting reviews. So they're saying, you keep saying that there's only 3,000 rooms out there, but we have another 1,200 rooms for you to have a look at that are done, but you won't look at them. So now you can keep throwing around the number 3,000, saying that's all that's done, but that's not true, is it? Low-key, enough of the statements. BAM should have been at this PAC meeting, okay? Enough of the statements, but that's where we are with that, okay? Next, guys. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I guess there's a lot of new people on here, maybe. But this was like a couple weeks ago. I talked about the CHI Christmas party and how it came out that the CHI got 30,000 euro from a contractor to pay for their Christmas party, right? And then they didn't declare that. So then when an audit happened, that's when they admitted it, and then they had to pay the money back. They're in front of the PAC committee as well. A major contradiction has emerged between CHI and Aramark, who are the contractors, right? So this is what CHI told the contractor. They said the 30,000 was a donation to the CHI. It was intended for a Christmas party in 2022. This is how old this shit is. In 2022. This is what annoys me is a lot of these scandals happened years ago, but it takes so long for everything to come out just because of bureaucracy. Everything's so slow. What do you mean you're doing an audit now? That is my friend. She's an auditor. She knows this stuff. Anyway, the 30,000 was intended to help with the staff Christmas party in 2022. So it was intended to use the money to lower staff ticket prices, right? CHI says, we know it's wrong, we admit our faults, we paid the money back, end of story. So CHI makes their statement, they're in front of this was their statement to the auditors, and it's their statement to the PAC committee. Then, James Gagan, who is a Fine Gael TD, he says, did you know that Aramark have released a statement in the past couple hours? Lucy Nugent, who is the CEO of the CHI, says, no, I didn't know that. She's gobsmacked, she's shocked, she didn't see, she was blindsided. It's like, oh, what did they say? He says they completely contradicted your the way you've relayed the events. Okay, they've said the complete opposite is view. Aramark said that 30,000 was not for a Christmas party. It was actually because they had to settle accounts. During COVID, Aramark are like a contractor. So they, and I mean, I've said that they're a contractor, but they own restaurants or whatever in hospitals. They provide restaurants, food, all that kind of stuff in restaurants, in hospitals. So because COVID was slow, not many appointments, a lot of cancellations happening, there was not a lot of footfall in these restaurants, so they weren't making as much money. So the 30,000 was to settle a bit of a debt, if you will. So, was it to do with COVID or was it to do with the Christmas party? That's what James Gagan's asking, and that's what the rest of the PAC committee are asking. They're like, why can't you guys get your story straight? And she doesn't even have time to come up with a lie because she's finding out in real time, that this is what they're saying. So they're like, can you admit that this is a contradiction? She's like, it is a contradiction. It is a contradiction indeed. But I don't know what more you want me to say on that now, guys, because I told you my side of the story. If they're saying something different, that's on them. Anyway, messy, but that's where we are now, guys. And then, since we're still in the healthcare situation, it comes out that 80%, and this isn't in the PAC committee, but this just came out later on. 80%, more than 80% even, of radiotherapy machines in Ireland's public hospitals need immediate or near-term replacement. Many of them are over 10 years, mind you. The 10 years is the lifespan. And some have been used for 18 years. Isn't this funny that this is also coming out where we're on track to be the richest European country or EU country by 2030? But we have the oldest radiotherapy machine fleet in Europe. How does that work? Someone tell me how that works, because my brain is glitching now. I'm not seeing how that works. All this money, but we're still tracking behind. The Irish Cancer Society says 1,440 patients a year won't start treatment on time because of this. Radiotherapy is essential. Half of all cancer patients need it, and it accounts for 40% of all cancer cures. Can you imagine something like that? Something that important in this country, and we're not taking proper care of the machinery that literally is leading to 40% of all cures in cancer in this country. 12 of the 14 machines in Dublin are already past their 10-year lifespan. Like, guys, I think sometimes we kind of make a joke, and I'm the same. Hello, you've heard I be cracking jokes all the time, but these are people's lives. Like, when we talk about how shit the healthcare system is in this country and the fact that you actually can't get by if you don't go private. I remember I was in a car accident like 2 years ago. I had to go private for pretty much everything. I had to get my CT scan private. I had to get my MRIs private. And like the doctor literally, when they tell you like my elbow was fractured and dislocated, my shoulder was fractured. No, my shoulder was just dislocated. But and shout out to them. They do the best that they can. But your one goes to me like your X-ray looks fine, but there's definitely something wrong. Like I can even feel it in your arm. There's definitely something wrong. You need to get an MRI scan. And I'm like, he's like, do you have insurance? No, I don't have insurance. And this is actually my bad. I should have gotten insurance because I did have a job and I just didn't apply for the insurance. But whatever. I was like, do you have insurance? I was like, no, I actually don't. Well, he was like, do you have 300 euro? No, I don't have 300 euro. Oh, no, I think I did have 300 euro actually at this time. I did have to take 6 weeks off work because of this, but I still saved at least that. And my mama did chip in. Shout out to mama. She did chip in. But what if you don't have that? First of all, that was 300 for the MRI, and then I think the CT was like another 200 and something euro. Like, what if I didn't have that? And if this was the situation right now, I wouldn't have it. If it was today, I wouldn't have that money. Trust and believe I wouldn't have that money. So, like, this is the situation for so many people. Like, we're playing with people's lives, bro. And my situation was something so simple, so easy, like a dislocated elbow, whatever. Okay, I got my physio. I'm grand now. We're talking about people who have cancer here. That's deeply worrying. And I feel like stuff like this comes out all the time. It's like, oh God, people are stuck on the beds again. No, that's not okay. Your granny should not be stuck on a bed and or should not be in a waiting room for hours and hours and hours before they see a doctor. Should be able to get a room in a hospital. Should be able to get adequate care. And this is no shade to the doctors or whatever, the nurses. They're all doing the very best they can with the equipment they have. This is the government. They're not assigning enough money. And sometimes it's not even about the money. It's what you do with it. They don't know what to do with it, okay? That's deeply concerning. So the HSC says that it has a replacement program because that's what you need, a replacement program to just constantly doing, not constantly, but like a schedule, if you will. They said they have a schedule. but they're not keeping up pace with it. That's what the specialists are saying. They're not keeping up pace. God, we're almost done, guys. Two more stories. This one's ridiculous. This is just we're off the healthcare now, though. So let me tell you about the scandal if you haven't heard about it. I don't even like referring to things like this as scandal because it's just so deeply inappropriate and disgusting. But it came out like a week or two ago that a former Fianna Fáil TD gave a character reference for Daniel Ramamurty, a former government advisor, okay? And he was convicted of exploiting a 13-year-old boy and possessing child sexual abuse material. Okay, so that's what it came out. So now everyone's trying to rack their brain. Who was the guy? Who was the guy? Who was the guy? Finally comes out that it's Jim Glennon who wrote this one. And you know what he has to say for himself? He said, sorry, actually, I'm really sorry that I did that. I wasn't thinking really well. And even the judge said he described it as extraordinary that none of the references mentioned the victim or the seriousness of the crime. None of them thought to say, isn't it crazy that you sexually exploited a 13-year-old boy? All you can say was he was a good former. He was liked in government. He did a good job advising people. You know, he's a good guy. That's all you can say. You don't want to mention the fact that he exploited a 13-year-old child or was possessing child abuse material. Crazy. Anyway, so for a while we didn't know who the TD was, and then it comes out that it's Jim Glennon, and he wrote the reference, and he said he called his decision naive and wrong, and then he acknowledged the gravity of the situation, and like the harm done to the little boy. And where was this acknowledgement of the gravity of the situation when you're writing that character reference? Because you can't. You're too old to use the word naive. You're just too old. Grow the hell up. You know damn well that you actually don't care still about that 13-year-old boy. You care that you got caught because these character references are usually private. That's all you care about is that you got caught. You will now forever, to me and to a lot of people, be known as the guy who wrote a character reference for someone who sexually exploited a 13-year-old boy and possess child sexual abuse material. That's what you will be known to me as, and a lot of other people. Piece of shit. Naive! How old is he actually? Because I really don't even like the phrase naive being used on old people. No shade, no tea, because you've lived a life, you know damn well. You've lived a life, you know damn well. Oh, 72. Please. Please. Piss off. 72, and you're naive? Yeah, sure. Right. Sorry, guys, that I got so heated, but, like, how could you not get heated on a topic like that? Like, I feel like we really need to take situations like this more seriously than we do. Like, is anyone even talking about this anymore? Anyway, next. Okay, so let's talk about the Sinn Féin party conference that they had theirs a few days ago or a week ago, and yeah, I've talked about the Green Party on here, theirs, and Social Democrats, so obviously got to keep it equal. Let's talk about Sinn Féin's, okay? So, what did they talk about there? Mary Lou got up there and she talked about the need for a mini budget, obviously, because we're in a cost of living crisis, right? Okay. So, what else did she say? She said there should be substantial cuts to excise duty. There also needs to be cuts to the universal social charge, that's the USC, which also was supposed to be temporary. The government has been saying temporary means temporary. Well, the USC was supposed to be temporary to get us out of the recession. We're a little bit past the recession now, if you know what I'm saying. Actually, you know exactly what I'm saying. We're not in a recession. But if the government keeps acting this way, who knows? Anyway, on top of that, there should be electricity credit worth €400 and a €500 cost of disability payment. So she also talked about the by-elections and how important it is because the government are weak at the moment because of the whole Healy Raid debacle, and they also already lost TD from Pascal Donoghue leaving. So this is the perfect time for someone from obviously Sinn Féin would love it to be them, but just in general, this is the perfect time for the left to get a few more on their side, weaken the government more and more and more. This is where it gets messy, though, for Sinn Féin. They had a motion, right, to ban fox hunting, and it passed. The party HQ, so the headquarters, the leaders, the head honchos, they put it forward because obviously it's a big motion. And when this is how it works, parties, will put forward motions within their party, and then if that passes, that's now the party stance, right? So if there was to be a vote in the Dáil next time about a ban on fox hunting, they would now have to vote that way because that's what the majority of their party wants, So apparently there was heated debate over this. Like it barely passed. And I mean barely it's like over 50% at least anyway. That's a pass, right? So barely passed. I don't know what the exact number was, but a narrow margin is what they're saying. Party head honchos didn't want to pass this, right? But they had to put it forward, and this is what they said as their examples. They said hunting in Ireland dates back thousands of years with mythology and examples of such as Cú Chulainn and the Hand of Ulster. I hate when people bring up historical shit sometimes because it's like you gotta move on. Sometimes the people back then didn't have it right. That's what hindsight is. Hindsight is 2020 forward vision. You know what I mean? So several figures are beefing with each other. Well, not beefing, but it was just heated. Matt Carthy is who's the Justice spokesperson. He opposed the ban, and he said that it's not even Sinn Féin that actually cares about this. That everybody's just bowing down to outside pressure in the lobbyist groups. Is that true? I don't know. I don't really think we should be shooting up foxes because they did that back in the day. That's just me though. And then other party members, which is MEP Lynn Boylan and TD Rada Cronin, were strongly in favour of it. And the vote just highlighted worries that are already out there that there's a massive divide between the urban Sinn Féin voters and supporters and rural Sinn Féin voters and supporters, and that this is just furthering said divide. Sinn Féin says everything's good in the house. Forget the gossip. Fuck the gossip. Everything's good in here. We're doing great. This is democracy. We had a vote. The vote passed. This is how it goes. So that's the tea. Anyway, that's a wrap on today. Longish episode, but actually could be worse, to be fair. I thought it was going to be way longer, and I'm sure I forgot a ton of stuff, but I think I've covered a lot. So that's your tea of the day or tea of the week, Polly tea of the week. Okay. So I will see you guys next week. It's still a nice day. And actually, when you guys are listening to this, I hope you guys are on a walk or something listening. Is this walking type background noise? I'm not too sure. Maybe it's more morning commute noise. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.